Good afternoon, everyone. Happy New Year, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. This is a regular EPCC board meeting. Today is January 26, 2021, and it is 5:30. Ms. Pam, 1.1.
1.0 General Functions. A regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the El Paso County Community College District will be held on Tuesday, January 26th, beginning at 5:30 p.m. This meeting will be held by video teleconference in light of state and local emergency directives regarding COVID-19. The teleconference audio can be accessed by dialing toll-free number 1-844-621-3956 and enter access code 120-889-7971 and pressing the hashtag key to access the call, and through a video audio feed found at youtube.com/GoEPCC. Any member of the public wishing to make a comment or question regarding an agenda item can email the comments or questions to the following email address: board-questions@epcc.edu. All backup and related materials for the meeting can be accessed at the epcc.edu/administration/Board of Trustees.
Thank you. And this meeting is now called to order. Ms. Pam, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Sanchez.
Here.
Mrs. Robles. Mrs. Robles.
Present.
Ms. Nájera.
Here.
Ms. Pena.
Here.
Dr. Graham.
Here.
Item 1.4, approval of minutes, December 1st, 2020, Facilities and Finance, December 1st, 2020, regular board meeting.
I make a motion we approve the minutes for the regular board meeting and the Facilities Finance Committee, December 1st, 2020.
Second.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Nájera.
Aye.
Ms. Pena.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye. Ms. Pam, I have a question. Did we already note that Mr. Haggerty and Ms. Draxler are not in attendance?
No, ma'am, it has not been noted.
Okay. Okay, so again, welcome to all. Thank you for joining us. Chair Haggerty was unable to join us today, but I'm sure he'll be at the next meeting. So 1.6, Ms. Pam?
1.6 open forum. We have none at this time, Dr. Graham.
Okay, thank you. 1.7.
Item 1.7, presentations by individuals, groups, and organizations. Item 1.7.1, Dr. William Serrata, college president, will recognize individuals who have retired from the college district.
Dr. Serrata.
Thank you so much, Dr. Graham, members of the board. I'm going to start today with Patricia Pat Melendez, payroll manager for Administrative Service Center. Patricia Pat Melendez started her EPCC career as a work study in check distribution under the accounting department in August 1993. Pat worked in a part-time position as an accounts payable clerk from May 1995 to August 1996, then transferred over to the Human Resources Department, where she worked as a clerk from September 1996 to February 1997. She quickly moved to a payroll clerk position in the payroll department in March 1997. A position for data payable supervisor in the accounts payable department became vacant in 2003. Pat applied and earned the position, where she worked until August 2015. Pat earned the position as payroll manager, where she worked until her retirement from August 2015 to December 2020. As payroll manager, Pat ensured that all employees were accurately paid on a timely basis, and she ensured all state and federal reporting deadlines were met. Pat held various positions within the finance area, which gave her the knowledge and expertise to excel in a myriad of past job responsibilities. She brought excellent communication, analytical, and customer service skills that made her a great asset to EPCC. Pat gladly served EPCC for 27 years. Pat looks forward to enjoying more time with her family and plans to travel as soon as it is safe to do so. Thank you, Pat. We wish you the best in this new chapter of your life. Thank you, Ms. Sanchez. Next, we'll recognize Robin Iona, LP and RN, and EMSP faculty. Ms. Robin Iona has been involved in emergency medicine for approximately 25 years while employed by the EPCC Emergency Medical Services Paramedic Program, EMSP. Ms. Iona started her career with EPCC in 1996 and as an EMSP lab assistant. She furthered her education and was selected as an EMSP lecturer in 2000. In 2011, she was promoted to a tenure-track position and received her tenure in 2016. Ms. Iona's hard work and commitment have greatly benefited the institution, the MS program, and countless students. She has been an integral part of the program, and with her assistance, many program goals were accomplished. She was personally involved in improving the educational experience of hundreds of students on campus and in dual credit classes. During her tenure, she has served on numerous committees, including the Institutional Effectiveness, Mission del Paso Campus, Safety, and conducted DACM curriculum development sessions for the program in 2001, 2006, and 2011. In addition to the college, Ms. Iona was highly involved in our community. She practiced as a field paramedic with the Rio Grande Ambulance Service from 2003 to 2008, and as a registered nurse at Del Sol Medical Center from 2010 to 2020. Her commitment extends beyond our community. She has also been serving as a paramedic with the Texas One Disaster Medical Assistance Team, National Disaster Management Systems, since 1996, and has been deployed to multiple state and national disasters where paramedic assistance is desperately needed. Her consummate dedication is highly praised by her supervisors, peers, and students. Everyone could always count on Ms. Iona's professional, knowledgeable, and friendly approach to many educational challenges that are encountered in the field. Ms. Iona is an inspiration to all, and we're thankful for her exceptional service. Thank you so much, and best wishes.
Item 1.7.2, Dr. William Sarata, College President, will present the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for the fiscal year ended August 31, 2019 to Ms. Josette Shaughnessy, Vice President, Financial and Administrative Operations, Mr. Fernando Flores, Associate Vice President, Budget and Financial Services, and Ms. Ana Zuniga, Comptroller.
Dr. Graham and members of the board, it is certainly my honor to introduce Ms. Josette Shaughnessy, our Vice President for Finance and Administrative Reporting, and thank her once again for earning the CAFR award. This is a number of years, a large number of years in a row that her and Associate Vice President Flores and now Comptroller Zuniga have been involved in this and have done an excellent job. And so with that, I'll turn it to Ms. Shaughnessy.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Sarata. Can you hear me? Very
Yes.
good. Thank you. Well, good evening, Dr. Graham, Dr. Sarata, members of the board and listening audience. First, I want to thank Dr. Sarata for this recognition. It is always with great pride that we accept this award on behalf of El Paso Community College. This is the 24th year that the college received this award, which is the highest form of recognition in governmental accounting and financial reporting. This award, established by the Government Finance Officers Association in 1945, recognizes state and local governments that go beyond the minimum requirements of generally accepted accounting principles by preparing a comprehensive annual financial report, or known as the CAFR, that evidence transparency and full disclosure. The EPCC CAFR undergoes extensive scrutiny that evidence transparency and full disclosure. The EPCC CAFR, and its compliance with strict accounting standards by a committee that reviews the report and rotates with new members every year to provide a different perspective at every review. So the award is not a given on an annual basis and requires from the EPCC budget and financial services team consistent commitment in adhering to any new reporting standards that are mandated by GFOA in pursuing this award. EPCC's CAFR highlights not only the college's financial results, but also its achievements in every area of the district, such as any new initiatives that are related to student success, technology, and the various services provided to the El Paso community. The CAFR, very important, also provides a wealth of information to the federal, state, and local agencies, the bond rating agencies, and the college's accrediting bodies about the college's vital role in the local, state, and national economy. Several areas in budget and financial services contribute to the preparation of the CAFR by virtue of their crucial involvement in the preparation of the audit report, to include accounting services under the leadership of Ana Zuniga, the comptroller, and Fernando Flores, Associate Vice President, Budget and Financial Services. The report was compiled in my office under the leadership of Sandra McHale, Executive Office Manager, who just retired from the college, and with the assistance of Sylvia De Lucio, Senior Administrative Associate in Mr. Flores' office. Their role was essential in compiling the report in the format prescribed by GFOA. I also would like to recognize the Valle Verde ISC staff, Instructional Service Center staff, in particular Sylvia Sustaita, who also retired. No fault of mine because she got tired of the CAFR, but certainly it is so important to have that ongoing support for the timely printing of the report. Special thanks to our external auditors, especially Terry Reinert, who also retired from the firm of Peña Briones McDaniel, and certainly for her review of the report prior to the submission to GFOA. We are also gearing up for the submission of the fiscal year 2019-20 CAFR that includes the fiscal year 19-20 audit report that is going to be presented shortly by Mr. Rene Peña from our audit firm. This report will be submitted as part of the 2020 CAFR, and we hope to have this same conversation again next year when we present to the board our Silver Anniversary Award. So with that, thank you so much again for recognizing budget and financial services and their commitment to excellence. Dr. Serrata, thank you so much, and thank you to my team because they certainly deserve that award.
Thank you, Ms. Shaughnessy. Well deserved and well done. Thank you so much.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Shaughnessy, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
You're not pushing all these people into retirement by working them too hard, are you?
It sounds like it, but I don't think so.
Thank you. Congratulations. I think that every year that I've been on the board, and I've been here for quite a few years, this has been an award that the college has received. But it's definitely the result of a lot of work, coordination, and meeting amongst yourselves and innovation that the college brings forward. So thank you for a well done job.
Well, thank you so much. And just to let you know, the CAFR is available on the transparency webpage on our college website. And I certainly encourage you to, and encourage the community, obviously, to read the report. It is very extensive, very comprehensive. And, you know, it does take a village to put that report together. And I certainly want to thank my team for doing so, because I could not do that by myself. There's no doubt. Thank you very much for the board's support, too.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Item, Ms. Pam, I think 1.7.3.
Item 1.7.3, Mr. Rene Pena, CPA, Pena, Briones, McDaniel and Company, PC, will present the audit results for the fiscal year 2020 financial statements.
Good afternoon, everybody. And let me just ask first off, is everybody able to hear me okay? I presume everything is working well?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate the response. So first of all, thank you for allowing our firm, Pena, Briones and Company, to present the audit report this year. As Ms. Shaughnessy had indicated, my partner, Terry Reiner, did retire. She handled the report off and on, I'm going to say probably for 10 years. But quite honestly, I handled the report back 20 and 15 years ago. So it's kind of like a bad seed. I'm back again. I hope y'all don't mind at all. And I'll try to fill the same venue that she filled. So with that, again, thank you for allowing us to present this. Most of this work was handled also by my staff. Melissa is my tax partner, Melissa Greva, and she's on line also. So any questions that come up between her and I, hopefully we can handle it. But I did want to recognize that my audit staff worked several months. To be honest, we started this, I believe, back in, I could say back in March or April when we had our first meeting, and then jumped into it with preliminary work in June. So I can easily say we have been working on this for the last 6 or 7 months. And we do appreciate the ability to present this. And hopefully we do as good a job as my predecessor did. So with that being said, let me go ahead and run into, I have a series of graphs here. Don't worry, there's not too many. 22 graphs, I'll shoot through some of them quickly, but I thought that would be easier than going through. And by the way, your audit report is exactly 100 pages. So I think 22 graphs will capture those 100 pages. And again, don't worry, I won't keep us here all night. I'll just go through them and try to hit what I consider the highlights. So on the very first graph that you see here, it is our responsibility to communicate significant audit matters to the Board of Trustees. And so that is the purpose of this presentation. On the next graph, just to say, well, what are we going to be presenting? We're going to talk about your financial statements, your internal control, and your compliance. That is what we auditors are given as a responsibility to give you and the public a opinion on, that the financial statements are presented fairly and in accordance with government accounting standards. And what we do is we test the college's internal control. Oh, yes, was there a question there?
Yes, I have a question, sir. Were you accessing some graphs that we can see, or are you making reference to the booklet that we received?
Oh, it should be graphs that are on screen. Are they not on screen?
Not yet.
Okay.
Oh, there. I think
there.
It's starting.
Thank you very much. I apologize for that.
No problem. Now we can see.
Okay, thank you for stopping me. The joke around the office is I am technically incompetent, so please assist me. I assure you competence in other fields, though. So on this first screen again, just going over our audit requirements. So what we do test predominantly is our internal control and also compliance, as well as the financial statements as a whole. And then in that, we look at the control environment. We look at, for compliance, we look at performance reviews, information processing, physical control. These are the general things that the auditor does. We test numbers for materiality. We're not going to guarantee that every dollar is found, but we do guarantee that all material items on the financial statements are properly presented. We're also required to present for you significant accounting issues. Your financial, and so bear with me a little bit of storytelling if I can. your financial statements have just been beaten up something awful over the last 6-7 years due to accounting standards. We have what I call a Bible out there, and the guys that write this Bible decided to make some major changes back a few years ago. And those changes had to do very significantly with both pension plans and post-retirement plans, i.e. health savings accounts. And what they did was, and I think it was a good move, they required you all, the government organization, to put these liabilities on the financial statements. In the past, your pension plan, the future obligation was not required to be reported. And in the past, your health care costs were not required to be reported. So over the last 5-6 years, they came out with new accounting standards, and they told us, and for fun, they're called GASB 75 and 77 and 85. They told us to start reporting those. And so that has played havoc with your financials, because prior to that, we'd sit here and say, okay, this year you had a profit of $20 million, and then along came these new requirements, and they took that $20 million away, using just an example. So what I'm doing on this chart here is showing some of the significant accounting issues directly related to the pension plan. And what you can see here, I hope, is that as a result of the pension plan, GASB 67 and 68, 71, they did have material effects on the financial statement. The net pension liability of $33 million is now recorded on the books, and this represents a decrease from the previous year of $1.6 million. That's a heck of a swing in 1 year. And by the way, the $33 million brought on the books this year is now the culmination of the pension that was required to be put on just a few years ago. Directly related with the pension plan is what's called the deferred outflow, and this is considered an asset. It's $15 million. And by the way, this was an increase of $1 million in the past. So these are two positive effects on your financial, but then on the downside, we had a deferred inflow of resources, which is a liability of $8,400,000 this year. And that was an increase of $5 million. So without operations, without you all touching anything, the actuaries came in and said, whoa, your liability is going to go up $8.4 million. And then they also came in with the deferred inflow and the pension liability. So when the dust settled, all of this had a negative effect on your net financial position, on your revenues over expenditures. It had a negative effect of $2.9 million this year. That's what I wanted to highlight. So what this chart is saying, and what you should go home with, if you would, is that the pension plan had an increase of cost of $2.9 million on the books during this fiscal year end. And the biggest reason for that was the one on the positive side, the discount rate. If some of you hopefully remember last year, I mentioned any variation of your discount rate is going to affect your pension liability. Well, you did have a positive increase. This is where the actuaries figured that you're going to make a little bit more money, and they rose your discount rate to 7.25, a 0.343 difference. So that's why you had a decrease in the pension liability and a decrease in the outflow. But on the other side of the coin, they had a change also in the rate of investments and post-retirement mortality. They did what I call their magic, and they came out and said some of our assumptions have to be redetermined. And based on those, some of them are new mortality tables that have come out recently. Over the last 5 years, the mortality tables have risen, thank goodness, from what averaged used to be 75 and 78 years, now upwards of 85 and 86 years of age. So that means that we're expected to pay for a longer period, and therefore the pensions cost us a little bit more money. The other factor that affected you very heartily was called the OPEC. This is OPEB, which basically is health insurance. but the formal name is Other Post-Employment Benefits. This also has extremely negatively affected your financial statements over the past year. So this liability that we picked up on the books now, this is where the actuaries are saying, hey, because you have post-retirement health benefits, over the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years, it's going to cost you $85.8 million. And that's an increase of $10 million. So that reduced your net assets by $10 million this 1 year alone. The deferred outflow of assets was at $29.8 million. That was actually an increase, a positive view for our organization. And then on the negative side, we had a deferred inflow of 23 million. All these numbers going up and down. Bottom line is that there was a negative effect to the financial statements this year of $4,392,000. So between the health insurance and back here on the pension plan, negative 2.9, you can see that basically we had close to $7 million taken off of our books as a result of our post-retirement efforts for the employees. So these are two significant effects on the books during 2020, 2019, 2018, 17, 16, and 15 that really weren't there in the past. So we're having to rebuild. Now, I hope I can say on a positive note, most of these changes have come and hopefully gone, and now it should stabilize. I hope I can say this a year from now. These numbers should stabilize now that we do have the new mortality tables, now that we have the new discount rates. And as you can see on this chart, this had a significant negative effect to you, where we went down just 1% or 0.99% on the discount rate. Well, that's what significantly caused this $10 million decrease in your, increase in your liability. Just 1 percentage point cost you all $10 million. So moral story is the post-retirement plans have had a significant effect on you because our accounting standards have made us put them on the books. So I'll put that behind us now, and I'll touch on a couple other minor issues, other significant accounting issues. This year, naturally, we had the CARES Act. COVID-19 had a significant effect on the organization. As a result, the CARES Act provided some funding. What they did was they provided us $16 million in allocation, of which during our fiscal year, 9.2 million was drawn. And of that 9 million, 6.5 was passed on directly to the students. So long story short is we've got 16 million coming in, we've taken 9.2, and 6.5 of that went straight as a pass-through to the students. And the remainder stayed with the college in order to offset some of the costs that we incurred with the additional PPEs and the additional software that we had to do and hardware. Another adjustment that had to come about, another report is we're required to give you our report on any audit adjustments. And we're very happy to say that there was only one audit adjustment. And the reason for that was not that we caught anything, it's that the state informed us that the unemployment tax rebate was going to go up by $82,000. So that was positive. But the real positive reason for this graph on 10 is to say that we did not have a need for any audit adjustments. And what's really important of that, it means that on a monthly or quarterly basis, your financial reports coming from the board, from management, are strong and correct. And the auditors didn't have to come and fix anything at the end of the year. So again, very strong pat out to the management and the administration of the financial statements here. What we do is issue reports. Some of the reports we have to state very positively that the college is following all governmental accounting principles on monthly financial statements, and there were no matters of reportable conditions. In that compliance and internal control report that we issue, we're required to tell you if we have a breakdown in our internal control, or do we have a breakdown in compliance with the federal and state grants that we're given? And the answer is no. And we do an in-depth review and study of those. So again, management has done a very, very successful job in handling both good internal control and compliance. And so we had no material weaknesses, and we had no instances of non-compliance. What that means is you got an A+ reporting on all of your 3 financial statements that we issued. So that's the narrative. If you don't mind, I want to go over some of the significant numbers here that you have in front of you. And what I'll do is touch on this. And this is a summarized financial statement for you. And with this, I wanted to point out for you a couple of things, but basically, there's so many numbers here. It's really the trend that I wanted to show you. And I think that's easily seen if you look at your total current assets. That's usually our liquidity. We've gone from $153 million all the way up to $215.4 million. That is a significant $62 million increase. That's a 40% increase, a 40% growth in a 5-year period. And any business would love to see that kind of growth in a 5-year period. You all are growing by leaps and bounds. Your capital assets, your infrastructure, you can see has grown from 124 all the way to 220. That's a 77% growth. You're practically double in size on your capital assets. And I just want to hit on some of these common ones. On all of this, look at your current liabilities. You've been able to do all this growth, yet maintaining your liabilities, your bonding as such, at a very consistent balance there. And I'm not going to go through all of these. I'll jump down to the bottom. So your net asset position, this is usually considered your capital. It's like the equity in my house. If I buy a $100,000 house and I pay $50,000, I've got $50,000 equity. Well, you all are sitting with $128 million in equity compared to 144 5 years ago. Well, again, I'm sitting here saying you're doing so great. What happened? Well, if you take a look that in here, we had to put in the pension costs, and that's what took us from 144 in 2016. The pensions ended up hitting us and taking us all the way down to 107. So we dropped that $34,000, but we've already built it all the way back up to 128. So what this is doing is showing a very positive trend on growth, significant growth, but it's also showing that due to the pension accounting presentation, it's showing a reduction in my equity in the house because now I'm reflecting those liabilities that are going to occur 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years from now. And then down below, because numbers are difficult, I just thought, well, here's a graph. And let's just look at our total current assets and our current liabilities. And you can see that we've got very strong liquidity, whereby our total current assets significantly outpace basically to a 3-to-1 ratio of our current liabilities. So this is telling me that our organization is very healthy financially, very strong liquidity. Over on this next page, again, just focusing a little bit strong on the net asset position. This again is your capital. And I just really wanted to emphasize here the graph that you can see we were doing great until we had to record these pension costs. And that's when we plummeted all the way down in 2018, but we're growing right back to a strong position. Over on the next graph, well, how did we get here? What was by the sources of revenues and expenditures? And I'll just touch on a couple of numbers here, but just again, I think it's important for you all to be able to see, I think the percentages are critical here. What percentage of our income is coming in from what sources? Our operating revenues this year are $36,634,000. That's 18% of our revenue. And look at 5 years ago, it was at 20% of our revenue at 36 million. So our operating revenue, that's tuition, grants, and such, is stagnant pretty much. But yet, where the real money's coming in, the state appropriation and the ad valorem taxes, that's where our real growth, our non-operating revenue this year has jumped all the way to 168 million compared to 146. And that's $8 million over just what we had last year. So all in all, our total revenue stream jumped up to $204 million compared to 197 million last year. And then again, graphically, you can see that our total operating revenues are just a fraction of our total non-operating revenues. Simply stated, operations are not covered. Operating revenues do not cover the total revenues that come in, nor the expenses that go out. On the next graph is a graph of our expenditures. And on this one, again, reflecting our operations, total operating expenses have jumped from 168 million all the way up to $190 million in this 5-year period. And that does represent about a 13% growth of $22 million in this short 5-year period. And then again, looking at where the money's going to, well, we've been pretty consistent. Instruction is 34%, academic support at 14%. 5 years ago, it was 12%. This just gives you a good idea of where our money is being spent. And 97% of every dollar is being spent on operations. Our non-operation interest expense is only 3, and other operation of 3. So total expenditures of 195. And then again, graphically, you can see two things. We've been pretty consistent, stable on our operating expenses going out, and it's all of our expenses are covered in operations and not non-operational costs. Over on the next slide, I wanted to show that you've done all this, and especially with the bottom slide, with a reduction of staff. Back in 2016, we had 1,925 part-timers, and today we're down to only 1,100. Back then, we had 1,200 full-time, and today we're down to 1,192 full-timers. So we've had this past year with COVID hitting and other factors, we've had a tremendous reduction in manpower. But I thought this graph gives you all a good indication of our staff and administrator, our faculty, and then overall the total. On the next graph, I really just want to point out on these are your statistical graphs that are presented at the back of your financial statement. And I'm just really going to point them out and say, I think these are very important for y'all to take a look at. They're in your financial book under page 27. But again, these show trends, and you can see that 10 years ago, we were at $59. And I want to say big deal, we've jumped all the way to $105. A student can't beat that with a stick. And we've had just gradual increases over the last 5 years, only $11 increase in a 5-year period. And then on the next graph, this one I wanted to point out that our property, this isn't our taxes, but our property taxable assessed value. Finally, the city of El Paso has joined the bandwagon with the rest of the world. In the past, our assessed values have been stagnant. And look at the growth that we've had just in the last 5 years and in the last 10 years, from 34,990,000 to 45, a significant growth in the assessed property values of the city of El Paso. Another way of saying it, my $100,000 house for 10 years was stagnant at $100,000, and then along came 2010 to 2020, and now my house is actually worth, my $100,000 house is actually worth 120. We have some nice growth there, actually 130. That's about a 30% growth in a 10-year period. We don't compare to the big cities, but at least we have some growth there. I just thought that was kind of interesting. And the other graphs, again, I'm just pointing out, page 79 goes out to the appropriation, how much is coming in from the state on the state appropriations. And then on the last, second last graph, just again showing some of the statistical numbers reflecting the semester hours, the growth of the organization, where we were at 29 and we're just at 30 at this point. That's really just a 1.2% growth on the semester hour load. And finally, the last graph I wanted to show you is pretty much the summation. And again, I want to emphasize, if you don't mind, the net position of the organization sitting, I'm going to argue, very strong at $128 million, significant growth from 2018 when we had the full recognition of the pension plans. So a good $21 million increase in that short period. And again, just showing graphically the growth that we've had since 2018 through today. And quite honestly, that's my report. I hope I didn't take too long, and I hope you find these graphs informative. And again, they are a recap of what you have in your 100-page financial report that the CAFR will be created from. On that note, can I just ask, well, are there any questions?
I have a question, Mr. Peña. I always worry about the grants that the college does an excellent job bringing in grants. And I always worry that if we keep them in compliance, again, because it takes so much time, or time from personnel to make sure that everything is in compliance. Do you review those as well in your audits?
Yes, that's called the compliance audit. As I said, we do 3 audits basically. One audit says that your financial statements are correctly stated. You do have $10 in the bank. You did spend $5. You do have $5 left in reserve. The other test is on compliance. And thank you for bringing that up. The amount of compliance that you all have to go through on the grants today is literally, I can say 100 times more than it was 10 years ago. Meaning 10 years ago, you would get a grant and they would say, here's $10,000 or here's $10 million. I want you to do A, B, and C. Now they're giving you that same 10,000 or 10 million. And they're saying, I want you to do A through Z. You have to cross your T's this way. You have to dot your I's this way. You have to give us these reports and these analysis. And yes, ma'am, we test those to the nth degree. In the past 10 years ago, I could say that 20% of our audit time was spent on compliance. I think I can say honestly that 50% of our time now is spent on that compliance. And again, the outcome of that are findings or question costs. And you all have no findings and no question costs. You've been in complete compliance. And I can't emphasize how much we test that. So congratulations.
Well,
Does that answer?
That's reassuring. Yes. And
Okay.
One last question I have, the 5-year summary chart that you shared with us, you don't have that anywhere in the book?
No, these are separate charts. I have sent them and you all naturally have access to all of this. And I'm glad you said that. I think the 5-year is the simplest way to really understand this 100-page financial report.
I think so too, because there's so much in there. It's hard to grasp it all. We can have a copy of that, right?
Yes. So it's graph 13 that gives you a summary. There's your whole life in 5 years on one page.
Dr. Graham, this is Josette Shaughnessy. I will provide the final presentation from Mr. Peña to Pam, and she will be sending you that information.
Oh, thank you. It's very interesting because he's got it very concise on those charts. Any other board member have any questions, comments, concerns? Dr. Serrata, do you have any questions or concerns?
I do not, Dr. Graham. I received a copy of the budget and went over it with the staff, and I'm highly pleased with the progress. And Ms. Shaughnessy and her team have done an outstanding job.
They do. Thank you very much. With that said, then I don't think we have any other questions, Mr. Peña. We appreciate the information
Well,
and hope you do as good a job next time.
okay, thank you, and I'm sure you all will. And thank you for all that you do for the city of El Paso. You know, when I look at these numbers, I'm just happy for all the kids that are, sorry for calling them that, all the students that are able to succeed through you all. So thanks for all that you're doing.
Well, share that with the whole community because we try very hard to do a good job for our community.
Oh, and you do. In fact, if I can say, you all kept me in college. I started at UTEP and then I went to community college, and that helped me go back. So I owe you a gratitude. Great. Okay.
Dr. Serrata, if I may say something, please.
Yes.
I wanted to really commend my team because the audit that is done on an annual basis, it did start very early on this year. Mr. Peña and his team started working with us as early as May and June timeframe during the pandemic. And they really worked so closely with us, great partnership. And then yet, still a very objective opinion, and we do appreciate that. But really, we have a team in accounting services that works very closely with the other areas of the college, of course. So, the grants office, obviously, is a strong partnership. Financial aid office, they are the ones that have to make sure they comply with financial aid requirements. And I certainly want to recognize Dr. Gonzalez's team, along with Fernie Flores' team, and Zuniga. Accounting spent a lot of time, obviously responding to our auditors, and they are doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. Fresh perspective every year. Melissa Guevara, great job in really working closely with us and ironing out any kind of things that come up during the audit. So Renee, thank you again, but certainly kudos to my team in budget, financial services, financial aid, grants management, really great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
But it's difficult to put the systems in place, but I think you've got systems in place that help you and your team accomplish this result. So thank you.
Well, thank you. We take it very seriously.
Good. Okay, Ms. Penn, 1.7.4.
Item 1.7.4, optional written report submitted by the presidents of the Classified Staff Association, the Professional Staff Association, the Faculty Association, and the Student Government Association will be read at this time. Trustees, I have two reports tonight. The first is from the Student Government Association. Dear EPCC Board, on behalf of the Student Government Association, it is with my esteemed pleasure to represent the voice of students as president of SGA. My name is Eduardo A. Flores, and I am a student majoring in mathematics at EPCC. As president, sharing and honoring students' efforts is my priority to encourage students to reach their degree enthusiastically and successfully. During the 2020-2021 academic year, the Student Government Association has been working on diverse and inclusive projects for El Paso Community College students, maintaining the light of education glittering. One of the projects we have been working on is called Connect, which allows students to be part of a health and wellness program in the form of interactive groups to help them handle different issues that COVID-19 has brought to their lives. The project is an online 7 bi-weekly session that we plan to start in the next weeks to encounter students with themselves, learning mechanisms, and creating substantial experiences from the different tasks assigned. In addition, SGA is working on planning a new opportunity for journalism and broadcasting students at EPCC by a TV broadcasting studio available for practice and empowering students to discover, develop, evaluate, and implement their professional goals as they prepare for their careers in a competitive global workforce. This project is also open to all students from all majors who may wish to participate to gain experience or knowledge similar to how the Tejano Tribune and Dangerous Radio operates. The class COM 2389 Academic Co-op Media Intern requires students to complete 100 internship hours and a final appraisal from the internship supervisor that evaluates students' performance. The project would help students as an alternative to earn their internship hours by participating in the TV broadcasting studio. We have also been working on an award for students to recognize their audacity in all areas of their academic careers and involvement at EPCC. Recipients of this distinction will demonstrate solid devotion to community engagement, resilience, a promise of evolution for themselves, and a commitment to influence the lives of others. This award will also acknowledge students who refuse to let circumstances stop them and stand with confidence and passion despite the obstacles, embodying the spirit of an EPCC Tejano. The Student Government Association has not established the name and the reward of the award, but it will be announced as we continue working. We are honored and privileged to symbolize the voice of students in numerous aspects that require a solution. As we deal with a global pandemic that has caused many challenges to our students, the Student Government Association vigorously continues to seeking to represent every student at our institution, execute the student will, and promote the general welfare of self-government. We look forward to the pursuit of unification, but also of enhancement. We share the prestige and excellence that our college's history has earned gratefully via faculty and students, which has helped us honor the past to build the future and make awareness about the present. Sincerely, Eduardo Flores, President of the Student Government Association. And the second report is from the Faculty Association. Hello, members of the board and EPCC President. Happy New Year. This spring semester, we are grateful for the college's understanding and commitment to the safety and health of everyone at the college. Faculty are appreciative of staying online and continuing to serve our students virtually. Although we would like to return to the classroom, we are too concerned about the health and well-being of our community and are looking forward to returning safely. Currently, Pat Barrientos, Vice President of the Adjunct Faculty, is putting together a fund for adjunct faculty with the help of the Association of Women in Community College, AWCC. This fund will support part-time faculty in need with funds that will be raised by the Faculty Association and AWCC. Vice President Barrientos is setting up the application and questions may be addressed with her. Finally, a committee is working to memorialize college colleagues during this time. Since COVID-19 is prevalent in our community, we would like to honor those we have worked with and give everyone a chance to grieve them. Thank you for your time. Melissa Aguilera, Faculty Association President.
Thank you. Any other reports?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. 1.8, communications?
Item 1.8, communications, there are none. Item 1.9, Board of Trustee business. Item 1.9.
Before
Yes,
we
ma'am.
go to the Board of Trustee business, I just wanted to take a minute for us to thank all the retirees. We wish you health and happiness, and we look forward to seeing you in the Retirees Association as soon as we can safely schedule events. But thank you on behalf of the Board of Trustees for your service and for the many hours of dedication to our students and our staff. So thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Tim.
Item 1.9.1, discussion and take appropriate action on authorizing the execution of a contract with the Department of Elections of El Paso County, Texas, in an amount not to exceed $190,000 to conduct elections for Districts 2 and 3. The Board of Trustees will consider appointment of the recommended election personnel, central counting station personnel, early voting judges, and alternate judges election day judges and alternate judges, early voting sites and election day voting sites, and to adopt any other orders necessary to conduct such elections.
This is very interesting. It's got a very high price tag. Is that higher than in past years?
Yes, ma'am, it has increased. When I asked the elections administrator about the increased cost, there's some extra requirements that the county has had to do in delivering of the ballot boxes. That has to be outsourced to a private company. And that has increased the cost, as well as a increase in the minimum wage or the wages that they're paying the election personnel. Now, I have been told that this
you don't have a choice.
pretty much this figure could go down as more school districts are going to be having an election. We know right now for sure that Anthony and the El Paso School District are both having an election this spring. And I believe that Esleta is also going to be having an election. So that might help bring the cost down because we share all of the sites.
Okay. Board members, do we have any questions, concerns, discussion? No? Ms. Robles, you don't have any concerns, discussions, since you're going to be on the ballot? And we don't need a motion on this, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Motion to approve?
Do we have a motion? Thank you, Ms. Nájera. Do we have a second? I will second it. Okay, Ms. Robles. Call the question, Ms. Kim.
Ms. Sanchez.
I abstain from this vote. I provide the legal county's elections department. I'll be abstaining from one. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Robles. Can you unmute yourself, Mrs. Robles? I think you're still muted, Mrs. Robles. Okay. Go ahead, Mrs. Robles.
I think a nod is okay, right? For when it comes to meetings, as long as she's viewable.
Mr. Ortega, is that
We would have
possible?
to have we would have to have an oral response if she could call in, or if she could, I don't know if she's having some technical issues.
Mrs. Robles, do a really quick click on the mute without just one time. Right there.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Nájera,
Aye.
Ms. Pena,
Aye.
Dr. Graham,
Aye.
thank you. Item 1.9.2, discussion and take appropriate action on an election order calling for an election to be held on May 1st, 2021 for the following single member electoral districts, Districts 2 and 3.
Do we have a motion? Discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve 1.9.2.
Second.
Thank you. Would you read 1.9.3? Ms. Kim?
Item 1.9.3, discussion and take appropriate action on entering into a joint election agreement with the El Paso Independent School District for the Board of Trustee election being held on May 1st, 2021.
Discussion?
Dr. Graham, I
ahead.
think we needed to take a, hi, Dr. Graham. I think we needed to take a roll call vote on 1.9.2. We had a motion and a second, and then I guess we could move on after that one.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you had called for both of them.
No, ma'am, I just called for that one, and I moved to
Okay.
approve. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ms. Sanchez,
Aye.
Mrs. Robles,
Aye.
Ms. Nájera,
Aye.
Ms. Pina,
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Okay. Item 1.9.3, would you like me to read that item again?
Yes, please.
Item 1.9.3, discussion and take appropriate action on entering into a joint election agreement with the El Paso Independent School District for the Board of Trustees election being held on May 1st, 2021.
Do we have any discussion? If not, can we have a motion?
We're waiting for a motion, right, Dr. Graham?
Yes.
Okay, move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? If not, let's call the question.
Ms. Sanchez,
Abstain?
Mrs. Robles,
Aye.
Ms. Nájera,
Aye.
Ms. Pina,
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Item 1.9.4, discussion and take appropriate action on entering into a joint election agreement with the Anthony Independent School District for the Board of Trustees election being held on May 1st, 2021.
Move to approve?
Second.
Do we have any discussion? Okay, Ms. Penn, will you call the question?
Ms. Sanchez,
Abstain?
Mrs. Robles,
Aye.
Ms. Nájera,
Aye.
Ms. Pina,
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Item 1.9.5, discussion and action regarding changing the Board of Trustees meeting date.
And this was a request, we had tentatively gone to Tuesdays, but it looks like we might need to go to Wednesdays. I don't have a problem with that. Is everybody else in agreement, or would you like to discuss it?
I'm okay with that.
Wednesday's
Dr. Graham.
okay?
Mhm.
You are?
I'm
Yes.
okay with it as well.
I'm okay with it. Perfect.
I'm in favor of it.
Okay.
Can we have
So
a
we don't need a
motion?
motion on that, right?
Yes,
I'll
ma'am.
make a motion that we move it to Wednesday instead of Tuesday.
Second.
Okay.
Okay, call the question, please.
Ms. Sanchez,
Aye, and it's just for clarification, we're moving the Board of Trustees regular meetings to 5:30s once a month to be held on Wednesdays. Is that correct, Dr. Graham?
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
And that would also include the Facilities and Finance Committee meetings that we also hold on the right before the regular meeting?
Yes, because we got them back to back.
Okay.
That helps
all right.
us all
We'll move
plan.
on. All right.
And that would be the last Wednesday of the month, correct?
that's
Yes, sir.
correct. Mrs. Robles,
Aye.
Ms. Nájera,
Aye.
Ms. Pena,
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Item 1.10.1 Treasurer's Report, October 31st, 2020, November 30th, 2020, December 31st, 2020. No action is necessary. Item 1.10.2 President's Report. Item 1.10.2.1, Dr. William Sarata, College President, will update the Board of Trustees and audience on recent events that have transpired at the college to include an update on the COVID-19 pandemic and appropriate actions taken.
Thank you, Pam. Dr. Graham, members of the board. Since our last board meeting on December the 1st, I've participated in 111 virtual meetings, including 18 TAC meetings, Texas Association of Community College, as we gear up for the legislative session, including a legislative committee meeting, a discussion with Speaker Phelan, discussion with Chair Creighton, who chairs the Senate Higher Ed Committee, the TAC Executive Committee meeting, TAC Officers meeting, TAC Business Advisory Council meeting, the TAC Quarterly meeting. Earlier yesterday, we held the TAC, the Community College Association of Texas Trustees, and the Texas Community College Teachers Association joint meeting, all in preparation for the legislative session, which began on January the 12th. The Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas joint board of directors meeting, the EPCC and CREED Achieve Scholarship meeting, where Achieve members introduced their scholarship program to EPCC. I chaired the Texas Student Success Council meeting. We had 7 COVID meetings, including cabinet and the college COVID team meeting. And I was fortunate to present to Muskegon Community College in Michigan at their college-wide meeting. In addition, the EPCC COVID reports the 5 metrics that we continue to monitor on a daily basis, the 14 days of decreasing cases. We're currently averaging 510 cases per day, which is up from the prior 2 weeks, which we averaged 504 cases, and up from the preceding 2-week period in which we averaged 348 cases. The rolling 7-day average is now at 10.02%, which is significantly higher than the 5% in order to implement phase 1 of our return to campus. The cumulative positivity rate stands at 12.67% today, significantly above the 10% desired rate. There were 12 delayed results today, which is not consistent with the recommended 4 days or less from swab to result. And finally, the infection rate continues to be more than twice the expected rate of cases reported daily, given our population size. Today, 666 cases were reported when we should have no more than 212 cases reported per day. Former Board of Trustees member, Mr. Charles Hurd, passed away in December of 2020. Mr. Hurd served on the EPCC Board of Trustees from 1981 to 1989. El Paso Community College has been selected as one of 30 finalists by the Bellwether College Consortium for the highly coveted Bellwether Awards. Bellwether finalists represent leading community colleges who outstanding and innovative programs and practices were selected among competitive submissions as exemplary. The finalists will undergo a rigorous second and final round of review at the virtual 2021 Community College Future Assemblies this month in January 2021. The Bridges to the Baccalaureate Research Training Program at EPCC and UTEP. Bridges is a finalist in the Planning, Governance, and Finance category that recognizes programs or activities that improve efficiency and effectiveness in the community college. Bridges effectively train research-oriented minority, primarily Mexican-American undergraduate students who bridge from the community college into the university and complete baccalaureate degrees in biomedical fields. I'm proud to share that of the 174 students who participated in Bridges from 2014 to 2019, 111, or 63.8%, have completed a baccalaureate degree. Congratulations to Dr. Amaya, who's Dean of Architecture, Arts, Math, and Science, and Rosalia Ortega, Assistant Professor of Biology, who lead a superior team of educators in this program. Special thanks to Margie Nelson Rodriguez, Professor of English, for her detailed work and oversight with completing the application process to get us to this point and in the top 30 finalists award process. The annual biomedical conference for minority students was held virtually November 9th through the 13th, and they have announced the winners of this year. Out of over 1,100 undergraduate research presentations from colleges and universities throughout the U.S., 200 awards were presented in various categories. EPCC's Rise to the Challenge Bridge program students won in the microbiology category, with Jijanik Wallace taking top honors, while fellow RISE students in the category of neuroscience, Oscar Velasquez and Adrian Sosa Ontiveros, took top honors. Additional presenters from the RISE program include Alessandra Martinez, microbiology category, and Stephanie Phillips, microbiology category. Despite all the challenges associated with the pandemic, all 5 of our challengers successfully represented themselves and EPCC. Congratulations to all RISE students and program participants on this national honor and recognition, including Dr. Maria Alvarez, Professor of Biology and RISE Program Director. Dr. Alvarez's leadership and success with the program continue to benefit our students with superior outcomes. The EPCC Law Enforcement Training Academy continues to exemplify itself and our students. The Texas Commission on Law Enforcement publicly released its most recent 3-year pass rate evaluation, showing our academy has consistently maintained a 100% pass rate on first attempts in taking state licensing examination, which certifies the training of our students. The academy has maintained this high standard since 2005, thanks to the great work from the faculty and staff, including Academy Director Barry Bogle. The Chef's Care Fall 2020 program was a success thanks to the joint efforts from Mr. Raul Ramirez, STS Manager, STS Program students, Pastry Practicum students, chefs from the Culinary Arts Department, AVP Carrie Moe, EPCC Foundation, and Dean Webb. The program included delivering breakfast and lunch to EPC students and their families. They culminated with a holiday delivery that consisted of 2 meals and a pastry box. There was a total of 720 meal deliveries. Special thanks to Chef New for donating the turkeys for the holiday packages and everyone involved in this program. The Distance Learning Support Services Department is excited to announce a new Blackboard Learn feature called Blackboard Assist, a resource portal for students. Blackboard Assist will provide links to resources that students can directly engage to help them succeed at EPCC. Lastly, I would like to share that Blackboard Learn Ultra certification trainings began in September 2020, and we have had a total of 333 certified faculty as of January 1st, 2021. We're on track to train another 250 plus by the end of December 2021. Great work from the DLSS department. The Valle Verde art faculty, Professor Isadora Stowe, was selected as one of 30 artists worldwide to be profiled in the book, The Motherhood of Art. The book is a guide that provides encouragement to and offers perspectives from artists who are also mothers. It highlights the many challenges faced and overcome by the many artistic mothers showcased. Congratulations, Professor Stowe. Art in the Hall is an online gallery developed within the last year by EPCC Art Department with hopes to continue displaying student artwork in our institution's halls. This new gallery allows us to exhibit and share the extraordinary work being created by our talented students. Special thanks to the Valle Verde art faculty and Professor Brack Morrill for leading this initiative. And that concludes my report, Dr. Graham, members of the board.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Dr. Serrata? Looks like he's been a little busy. When will we hear about the Bellwether Award, sir?
Dr. Graham, we should hear in the next couple of weeks about the Bellwether Award. And so we will keep the board abreast of our progress.
Okay, thank you. Hopefully this time you'll get all the way to the top. Okay, if no one else has any questions, we can move on to the next one, Ms. Penn.
Item 1.11 consent docket. This includes item 3.2.
Okay. Do we need a motion on that?
Yes, ma'am.
So I move to approve them. Oh,
Second.
go ahead.
Okay. Are there any questions? Ms.
No.
Sanchez,
Aye.
Mrs. Robles,
Aye.
Ms. Nájera,
Aye.
Ms. Pina,
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Item 2.0 administration. Item 2.1.1, the following policy is presented for first reading, review, and comment. AB local resource person, Julie Penley.
We don't need a motion on this one, right? Because it's just for review. First reading.
That is correct, Dr. Graham.
It's not an action item.
Correct.
Just comments right now is how it's posted.
Okay. Are there any questions? I don't have any.
I
Okay.
have a question on this one. Hi, this is Christina. On this one, on its 2.1.1, it's on the seal. So in the backup, it indicates that the seal is adopted by the board and it's in the custody of which shall be in the office of the president of the college district. So what are we doing to ensure that, I guess if it's copyrighted, that there's not misuse of that seal? Is that, I don't know if that's necessarily part of the policy, but I just want to make sure that there's at least a mechanism or some sort of procedure in place to protect that seal so that it's not misused.
Ms. Sanchez, that's a great question. And that's part of the reason why we put the language of the district seal in the policy. I do believe that the seal and the logos, the taglines that appear in advertising are all protected, but I am going to defer to AVP Mo on that. And I understand, yes, the logo is copyrighted.
Okay.
This is Carrie. The tagline and our other proprietary elements are also copyrighted.
Okay, great. Okay, great.
That's a good question. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. The next one is Tim.
Item 2.2.1, the following policy is presented for first reading, review, and comment. BA local.
Any questions or concerns? If none, we can go to the next one, please.
Okay. Item 2.3.1, the following policy is presented for first reading, review, and comment. BBB local.
Any questions or concerns? Okay, let's go to the next one, please.
Item 2.4.1, the following policy is presented for first reading, review, and comment. BBD local.
Any questions or concerns?
I have a question. This is Christina.
Yes,
So, okay, so this particular policy, just for the benefit of the public, this particular policy discusses a board orientation or onboarding for all the new board members. And so within this particular policy, it also discusses generally what type of information will be provided to that new board member, what that onboarding would look like. I do have a question though, of how that works in, or how that, I guess that plan will play out year after year. So I know like in the first year that I became a board member, I did have that onboarding, got that information provided. Here in this particular policy, it indicates that the president will develop with the board's will work with the board to develop and implement an annual plan to address the training needs of board members. And so my question is, what would that look like? Is that a board action? Is that, how is that, I guess, going to differ than what we currently have in place?
Ms. Sanchez, what this policy provides is a door to a conversation between the board and Dr. Serrata. My personal opinion would be that the trustees would take a look at the results of their self-evaluation and identify if there are certain areas that the majority of the board feel might benefit from additional training. It could be something that individual trustees identify as a topic that bubbles up, but it's really not meant to paint the board into a corner and dictate what that ongoing training would look like. It's sort of the discretion of the board to identify issues as they arise and to address that training specific to those needs.
And that's very good explanation. It does ask that new board members be given an orientation, because many years ago that was not the case, so it started becoming evident that you can't just go in there and sink and swim. You gain a little bit of knowledge through an initial orientation. And it does, like Dr. Penley says, it opens the door for us to seek also, for example, in reading all these policies, the one on Title IX is, I would say, fairly new. And so that's one that we need to be very aware of. So somewhere down the line here pretty soon, we're going to need some kind of training on that Title IX to make sure that we are all knowledgeable, because if there's complaints that raise to the level of the board, which most likely there will be, we should be aware of what the new policy is asking. So, and other areas of need that we have as individual board members, we voice it to the college president, and then he can look to set up trainings as we need them.
Dr. Graham and Ms. Sanchez, I'd also add that the Board of Trustees Institute is something that we're invited to annually. Obviously, it was canceled last year, but we expect it to go forward this year in an online environment. In addition to that, we have the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board that has a training that occurs every May as well. And so those are two additionals that I would add to this as well.
Okay, great. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
The only thing, can I add something else? Just a suggestion?
Sure.
So so here in this particular policy, we do reference that the board members have to do a training with regards to the Public Information Act, so PIAs. So that's what's referenced under 552.012. If I can just add a suggestion, I think part of that training, and we do this already, but I think it's great if we specify that, to make sure that board members also receive appropriate training under the Open Meetings Act as well. So I think it's helpful and good if we specify training under 551. That's the Open Meetings Act. It says generally a formal orientation on legal and budgetary oversight, and I was going to be okay with that. But since we reference PIA, I think we should also reference the TOMA. That's my suggestion, just to make sure it's in there and it's covered. So that's all I have.
To make sure I understand it, you're suggesting that we specifically add the Open Meetings Act in there to receive training on the open meetings.
Right, and all board members do it, and we have to get that certificate when we come on board for PIAs and for this Texas Open Meetings Act. But let's memorialize that in the policy, since we already have to do it, and since we're already referencing the PIA. Just consistent.
Ms. Sanchez, I will double check. I do believe the OMA requirement for training is in the legal version of that policy, which of course you all do not have to adopt. But yes, it does. The Texas Education Code does outline the requirements for OMA, PIA, as you mentioned, cybersecurity training. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, next policy, Pam.
Item 2.5.1, the following policy is presented for first reading, review, and comment. BBE local.
Any questions or concerns?
I do have a question. Sorry, just want to make sure
Yes,
that we're
ma'am.
clear. Yeah, so
No,
under,
that's okay.
yeah, under the, so I'm looking at the policy on page 141 of the board binder. And so there's the second full paragraph here talks about transacting business. And so it talks about that any board action shall be taken in meetings that comply with Open Meetings Act. When a proposal is presented to the board shall hold a discussion and reach a decision. And then I know later on in the policy, I think it's just the next one, we talk about how the board follows the Robert Rules of Order. So I guess my question to that is, how is that supposed to work out? Because right now what we do is an item is read into the record. There's a vote, right? There's a motion and a second, and then we open it up to discussion. So that what I'm reading it, the way I understand it, is that this particular policy is saying we hold a discussion first before we have the vote or to have the motion and the second. Is that what's intended, or am I misunderstanding what that specific reference is? I just want to make sure it's clear and it's not inconsistent with what Robert Rules already allows for and which we already do follow. So I just want to make sure that that's clear.
Ms. Sanchez, since that language was provided by TASB in their template, I am going to defer to, I understand we do have a few of our Scott Hulse attorneys on the call to help us interpret that language.
Okay.
Mr. Downey, are you on the call? Otherwise, I can jump in.
I am. Ms. Sanchez, to answer your question, I want to make sure that and members of the board, good evening. My name is Blake Downey. I'm counsel at Scott Hulse. My understanding is that the way that this is read is that an item is presented, discussion is then made on the item, and then a vote is made. I think that's what we adhere to currently, which is a presentation of the item. As we've seen tonight, Ms. Payne has presented the items, discussion is then made on the items, and a vote is made on the items. So I'm unsure of your question, but I believe that the procedure that's documented in the transacting business section of this of BBE local follows the requirements of Robert's Rules of Order based on my understanding of that
Okay.
document.
Yeah, okay. So in rereading that, when it's talking about you hold a discussion, which we do, and then we reach a decision. So I guess reaching a decision is the full vote of the body versus the first and the second. And the only reason I ask that is that sometimes, after discussion, we do have, some folks sometimes change their mind, or, there's just something that may be changed. And it just seems sometimes kind of confusing when we're voting seconding and then we have to go back to rescind that, which is fine, but I'm just saying it just seems a little backwards. But I understand based on your explanation here that we already are following that. I do see that, but just something for consideration. Okay, that's it. That's my question on that. And then I do have another one.
Thank you, Ms. Sanchez.
Thank you.
10.2.61.
Sorry, can we?
Oh.
Sorry, I wasn't done. I apologize.
Oh,
Dr.
I'm
Graham.
so sorry. Okay.
No, that's okay. That was me. I didn't speak up there. On the same policy on page 141, it says here, we can ask for certain records and request them from the college president or the designated custodian of records. So I guess, is the college president not the custodian of records for the entire district? So in other words, does the college have other custodians of records? Or is there just one?
So there are more than one, Ms. Sanchez. So we'll have a student record that would be most likely Dr. La Chica Chavez would be the custodian of student records on the student side. And then we'd have an employee one as well.
Okay. right? And then, okay. What would be the case? I guess, how would this play out in terms of like what type of records or examples of records would maybe be denied to a board member? And I can think of a lot of examples off the top of my head, just kind of maybe based on confidentiality issues, but I'm just wondering if you can kind of explain to me what some of those records may be generally.
It could be one that the police department is the custodian of those records if there was an incident or an investigation. That's one that I can think of that we might not be privy to.
Yeah, and I'll weigh in just based on the Board of Regents from the University of Texas and the troubling situation that was occurred there when they were asking for student-specific records based on admissions policies that were implemented and a questioning of President Powers. So I think that those have been put in for caution in respect to that, Ms. Sanchez.
Okay, and that's great. I mean, I would figure that there'd probably be some instances in which it's appropriate, right? Like not everything can be submitted out, no matter if you serve as a board member. I understand that, but I just wanted to make sure that we could see like we're not entitled to everything. There are limits to that. There are confidentiality provisions that would kick in. So that's.
You also have the. Yeah. You also have the records when there's a case coming before you under DGBA, which could be an investigation that was done, and then you are requesting to find out what's going on, and if that case looks like it's going to move into a grievance level that the board is going to be presented with, you don't get the records ahead of schedule because it prejudices your decision. You get them when everybody else gets them, or you have to abstain from being part of the decision maker on that case.
Okay. All right. And then just on the request for reports and then the confidentiality, it does talk about here in this particular policy that, if preparation of certain reports or there's a request that is more than de minimis here, that it's going to take some staff time and I think resources, and it's just going to be burdensome on the college to do that for a particular request. I would just say that somehow I mean, I don't know what your procedures are now, but that I would hope that at least is documented in writing between the requester and the college president, just so that there is that documentation of, it was asked. It's good to have that documentation, not for whatever board member comes after us, just to ensure that, somebody is not harassing or disrupting staff's time or the administration's time in trying to collect some of this information that's really, really burdensome. That would only be my feedback to that. Definitely understand why that would be in there, but for any board members now or in the future that would come, we just want to make sure that that's not used as a disrupting tool from the college's business. That's my comment on that particular policy. That's all I have.
Just for clarification, are you suggesting that if that starts to happen, that the president should keep track of the board members and what they're requesting? Because unfortunately, we lived through that for a while in the past years, and it does become very burdensome when a board member just asking for reports for the sake of asking and harassing somebody, but it ties up the staff to be producing them.
Right. Yeah, I think so. I think it needs to be documented in writing. I think that, whatever that issue might be, and depending on what the records are being requested and how frequent, I think that's probably might be a bigger conversation probably with the board. And that if that were to happen, but at least I think if there's just something to that effect, or if it's a one time or even any time, it should always be documented just so that that's in the record. It's a public record because it could become an issue depending on the circumstance. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you. That's good feedback on that. Do you have anything else on that one?
No, ma'am.
Anybody else have any input or comment from that policy? Okay, Ms. Pam, the next one, please.
Item 2.6.1, the following policy is presented for first reading, review, and comment. BBF Local.
Any comments or questions on the ethics policy?
No.
No questions? Then we move on to the next one, please.
Item 2.7.1, the following policy is presented for first reading, review, and comment. BBG Local.
Any comments, questions, concerns? Hearing none, let's move to the next one, please.
Item 2.8.1, the following policy is presented for first reading, review, and comment. BBH Local.
Any comments, concerns, questions? Hearing none, let's move to the next one, please.
Item 2.9.1, the following policy is presented for first reading, review, and comment. BBI Local.
Any comments, concerns, questions? Do we have this in place, Dr. Serrata, this acceptable use policy? Because I don't remember if I signed one, but it could have been 13 years ago. But on page 151, acceptable use technology. If we don't have it in place, we need to get everybody the form. And I know we have it for students.
Dr. Graham, we do have a version of this in place, but we will ensure that we have this up to speed.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, concerns about that? Okay, next one.
2.10.1, the following policy is presented for first reading, review, and comment. BCC Local.
Any questions, concerns on BCC Local? On this one, I just have a question on page 153. A report of legal advice on the last paragraph. Report of legal advice received shall be presented to the board when deemed appropriate by the administration upon request of the board. I was thinking that perhaps we should consider giving a little bit more clarity to that as to how often the board should get those reports. I certainly don't want to live through what we have gone through with this last legal advice billing and episodes where we didn't know what we owed, what cases were out there, how much litigation was costing and all that. We can consider a little bit more specificity on it, only again based on our past experience. Not that we don't trust you, but the current attorneys, but based on what happened to us before, that maybe we, and I don't necessarily think it has to be in the policy. It may just be a procedure, that we can put a regulation or something. What do you think, sir?
Well, Dr. Graham, this is Francisco Ortega. Just to let you know that issue has already been considered and is incorporated in the professional services agreement that the college has with our law firm. We are bound to provide a quarterly report to the board of directors or to the board of trustees. But it's certainly something that the board could decide to provide more clarity on the policy if it so chooses. But we do have that in the professional services agreement.
Could we maybe add something or appropriate by the administration upon request to the board and specified in the in the professional agreement or something? Something that lets us know that there's something that exists that we can count on.
Dr. Grimm, this is Julie Penley again. I would support Mr. Ortega's suggestion that kind of detail go into either the contract, or we could certainly draft a college procedure. I would be hesitant to deviate from the template that TASB provides for something like this. But we can certainly address those concerns in another document.
Okay, I'm comfortable if you have a procedure that you know, keep in mind that TASB is giving you this as a sample. It doesn't mean that we have to 100% always agree with them. This is local policy, this is our policy, but I do agree that if we just have a college procedure in writing, that would suffice.
Dr. Graff?
Yes.
Hi, this is Christina. Yeah, I definitely think in terms of would have ensure that you know, that we're getting certain services or we're getting certain reporting, things are clear, billings are clear. Where we have more leverage and where the college would have more teeth is to ensure is that it's in a so these
Ms. Sanchez, I'm sorry, but you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Ms. Sanchez, but you're getting cut off for some reason that it's not coming through.
Let me see. Can you hear me now?
The audio.
I feel like I'm yelling.
Yes.
Hey, can you hear me?
No.
No? Can you hear me?
We can hear you now, but we couldn't a little bit ago.
Oh, okay. No, I was just going to say, Dr. Graham, that the legal mechanism so that we can make sure as a college that we have teeth and it can be actionable and enforceable would be through a contract where we lay out and we stipulate all those things, if you will, that we want to ensure that we're protecting ourselves and ensuring that we get certain reports or certain billings at a certain time, so that we know and we're on top of what's going on with that, because those are important services that we're being provided. I don't oppose putting it in some sort of procedure, just so that is memorialized somewhere long after we're gone, we're no longer here anymore, but that at least that folks can remember and to ensure that those protections should be in some sort of document for the college. But those are just my 2 cents, that the legal document would be the more appropriate, I guess, venue to have that, what you've expressed, or some concerns.
And it can be, you know, again, a procedure, a regulation, just something else, like you say, because we can't just leave it to chance that just because we have good attorneys right now and a good board, that's going to be the case always.
Right.
Okay, so that's my 2 cents on that. Thank you, Dr. Penny. Thank you, Ms. Sanchez. Next.
Item 2.11.1, the following policy is presented for first reading, review, and comment. BCG Local.
Okay, any questions, comments on this policy? I just found it very exciting that it does have on here on page 155, the long range planning and goal setting. And we have to make sure that we continue with that. We started to, and then pandemic came across and we slowed that down. But it does refer to the board evaluation, self-evaluation, which Dr. Penley is already leading on that. So any questions, concerns, comments on this policy?
No.
Okay, next one.
Item 2.12.1, the following policy is presented for first reading, review, and comment. BD Local.
BD Local. Any comments on this? If you notice on this policy, it does speak about the meeting on the Wednesday, but it does call for the third Wednesday. Is the last Wednesday always going to be the third, or do we take out or add something there? I don't know if we need to, but we just change that to Wednesday. Because sometimes the Wednesday would be the fourth, right? Or should we put on there on the last Wednesday of the month? It makes no difference to me. I just thought that might be.
No, Dr. Graham, I think it's a great catch, and I think that we should correct it to the last Wednesday because that was what was recommended earlier.
Okay. Dr. Penny, you got that?
Absolutely. I will make that change.
Thank you. And then on the page 158 of that same policy, the board shall observe parliamentary procedures and Robert's rules of order. The newly revised, is there a chance that we could get a copy of the newly revised Robert's rules of order? I think the one I have is from the first one that got published in the world.
Yes, ma'am. We will make sure to get copies of the latest copies of Robert's rules for each board member.
Okay. Any other questions, concerns, comments on that? If not, we move on to the next one.
Item 2.13.1, the following policy is presented for first reading, review, and comment. BDB local.
Any questions, comments, concerns? If none, we go to the next one.
Item 2.14.1, the following policy is presented for first reading, review, and comment. BE local.
Comments, questions, concerns?
Sorry, not on this one, but I'm sorry, I just found my comment on the last one. We can go
That's
back.
Okay, we go back.
To BDB.
BDB. Let's go back.
And I'm looking
Yes,
at
ma'am.
page I'm looking at page 162 under disruption.
Yeah.
So it says here that the board shall not tolerate disruption of the meeting by members of the audience. That's pretty broad, in my opinion. I know that when folks come up and give their public comment, if that's what we're talking about, that there's First Amendment rights that are tied to that. And I don't want this particular language here, which is really too broad, to stifle or to stymie anybody who may come up to give a comment. Like, I understand that if it's, violent in nature or clearly just outside the realms, but the way I understand it is that there's a lot of First Amendment protections that apply to that. And so I want to make sure that we're comfortable with this shall not tolerate disruption language, or do we need to flesh that out to ensure that we're not giving, that this policy is not here and that this is somehow used, I guess, whoever's presiding over the meeting to stifle any public comments that may be made by any member from the audience. Are we comfortable with the language?
Ms. Sanchez, this is Julie Penley again. This is one of the many policies, one of the many local policies that has a legal policy counterpart. And in BDB legal, it does identify the First Amendment rights and the language in the Texas Constitution that protects the free speech rights and public comment rights in governmental meetings. And so that protection is in the accompanying legal document. And so it would prohibit disruptions based on that content only.
So I guess
and the legal one gives more
policy that we're referring
specificity.
to. Can you hear me? sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Now we can.
Okay. Sorry about that. It was a little too far away. My concern though, and that's great. I'm glad it's in the legal document, but I want to make sure that at least it's maybe made a little bit more clear or flushed out. We don't have to do the citations to any of the case law or any statutes, but at least putting it in our policy to say that, you know, I guess just fleshing that out a little bit more so that no one's just cut off. I don't know if this is more of a for our legal counsel's feedback on that, but my concern is I want a policy that for somebody after us can pick it up and read it and know what those parameters are, and not just read this and say, well, it says that tolerate disruption, and so I deem somebody that's saying something that I don't like against me is going to be cut off. That's what I don't want to happen. So I want it to make sure that it's clear, very clear for board members what that.
More clarity. Do you have suggestions on what language you would want in there? I know that for the board meetings that I've been privy to, when this is enforced, is individuals that come to the, that either get up and yell and start, calling people names and vulgarity and yelling and threatening. They are really out of control. But if you have some suggestion on some of the language that you would want to see in there.
Yeah.
It's the first reading, so we can tweak it a little bit.
Yeah, I can think that through. I do have some suggestions on what I think, what I'm meaning and what I'm trying to say so that it's clear. I think we just have to be careful here. And honestly, from my own policy perspective, I am very much of the opinion that, folks can come up and say what they need to say. Obviously, we're not going to like all the times what they may have to say. There are rules of decorum that should be followed, but I just don't want anybody to be shut off just because they might be critical over a certain matter. And so that's my concern on that. But I'm happy to share that, or I guess express what I'm wanting to probably see a little bit more fleshed out here. It doesn't need to be complicated, but it doesn't need to be so broad either.
What if we do this? What if you take a look at the same policy, but the legal one, and then you can suggest some language and we bring it back for the second reading?
Yeah, and I'll share that with staff as well.
So in the legal policy, thank you, Dr. Graham, it does define that concept of disruption, and a person commits an offense if, with the intent to prevent or disrupt a lawful meeting, the person substantially obstructs or interferes with the ordinary conduct of the meeting by physical action or verbal utterances, and thereby curtails the exercise of others' First Amendment rights. Above that, in the legal policy, it specifically prohibits cutting somebody off because they don't like the content of the presentation.
Yeah, and that's why I was suggesting that if Ms. Sanchez takes a look at the legal, it might already have what she's looking for in there, because, it's just as enforceable as the local. But if there's something there that she feels that should be part of the local and it's not really clearly expressed in the legal, then she can certainly bring it back at the second reading.
Absolutely.
We're not adapting that one. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Dr.
Sure. Next one, Ms. Pam.
Okay, we're going to go back, I believe, to 2.14.1. The following policies presented for first reading, review, and comment. BE local, or is that the one we just did?
We just did, yeah.
Yeah, because we went back to BDB local, I believe. So.
Yeah, that one we need to bring back. We're gonna, well, they're all gonna come back for the second reading, but that one we're gonna look at maybe the language on this one.
So we are on 2.14.1 then.
Yes, I'm okay with that. I don't have any comments.
Anybody else have any comments on that one? If not, then we move on to the next one, Ms. Penn.
2.15.1, the following policy is presented for first reading, review, and comment. BFA local.
And I don't have any comment on that one, but I did want to point out on the previous one that it has a very important comment there about keeping a policy manual, an official copy in the president's office or with Dr. Penley. Somebody's got to have a copy. Does anybody have comments or anything on 2.15.1 BFA? Okay, let's move on to the next one.
2.16.1, the following policy is presented for first reading, review, and comment. BFD local.
Any comments, concerns? I think on this one, my only question was for legal. This one just, says the president can resign at any time, but the terms of the contract still apply, correct?
Dr. Graham, this is Rosemary Marin. Yes, ma'am. This does not sorry, it's late. The contract is still in effect. And if he were to resign, it would be by mutual agreement. So that is in coordination with the contract.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, concerns on that? If not, we move to the next one.
Item 2.17.1, the following policy is presented for first reading, review, and comment. BFE local.
Comments, concerns, questions, clarifications? If not, then we move on to the next one.
Item 2.18.1, the following policy is presented for first reading, review, and comment. BH local.
Any comments, concerns, questions? Hearing none, let's move to the next one.
Item 2.19.1, the following policy is presented for first reading, review, and comment. GB local.
Any comments, concerns? I think on this one, what I'd really like for us to zero in and be aware of is the freedom from retaliation. This one, we're going to see this throughout several of the policies. And it's important that we have procedures that ensure freedom from retaliation. Any comments, concerns? If not, we move on to the next one.
Item 2.20.1, the following policy is presented for first reading, review, and comment. GCB local.
Hi, I have a question on this one. So it says here
Sure.
that the request for the public information shall be made to our Employee Relations Department. Attention, Dr. Benya. So is he the custodian of records? Or is this only applicable to the employee contracts?
No, ma'am. He's the recipient of the PIA requests, and then, of course, the human relations ones he would handle directly. But it's not unusual for my area in institutional research to get these requests. But he's the point of contact, and then he funnels them, whether it's to my area, to Dr. Gonzalez's area, to Dr. La Chica Chavez. But rather than confuse the public with multiple points of contact, it is Dr. Pena, and then he addresses them accordingly.
Okay, so then if he refers them out to a different department, that it's still on that same time frame. In other words, what he's saying is he's not saying you need to contact this person. He's telling, I just want to make sure I understand how this goes. He's telling them, here's the PIA, respond to it accordingly, right?
Absolutely. And in order for him to meet the deadline, we have to work backwards to make sure that that deadline is met.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, concerns on that policy? Okay, next one, please.
Item 2.21.1, the following policy is presented for first reading, review, and comment. GDA local.
I have a question on this one at the very end of the paragraph of page 184 of the board's agenda. The college district prohibits use of tobacco products and cigarettes on college district property and college district vehicles, related activities, unless authorized by the president or designee. I'm not sure as to under what circumstances would the president be authorizing somebody to be using this product if we already said that they're not. Can somebody give me an idea?
Well, one example of that, Dr. Graham, could be in an educational setting, and specifically if there was research, for example, being done. And that would be the most likely reason why that would be given and why other institutions would permit it. And off the top of my head, I can't think of another example when an educational institution would grant that waiver.
Can you think of anything, Dr. Serrata, why you would let somebody?
I cannot, Dr. Graham. I agree that the research piece, and I hadn't even thought of that, so I certainly appreciate Dr. Penley weighing in on that, but I can't imagine any other permission that I would grant to allow tobacco and or e-cigarettes use.
Because what it implies to me is, it's on college district property or vehicles or related activities unless authorized by you. I just don't see why we would have that unless authorized by you in there. Board members, can anybody think of why that would be in there?
No.
So do we want to delete it, keep it?
Yes.
Pardon?
Yes, unless Dr. Serrata has real strong feelings about it.
I don't, Ms. Sanchez, other than the item that Dr. Penley is referencing. If it was being done for research that we were conducting, that would be the only thing that I can think of. Outside of that, it's hard for me to think of possibly potentially some sort of cultural issue. We think of the Tiguas, and if they had any kind of cultural issue that may be that would be necessary to adhere to on the college campus, I can't think of anything else.
I personally don't see a problem. With leaving it, because the chances of Dr. Serrata saying, "Hey, Bonnie, you can smoke today," are slim to none. It's not going to happen. So I don't see a problem with doing it there, personally.
Yeah, I can see a student coming and saying, you know what, I'm going to do research and find out how many cigarettes I can smoke between classes. Can you approve it? Student is doing his own research and wants approval for something like that. If you leave it on there, you have to honor the request.
Doesn't have to. He can look into it. He doesn't have to honor the request. He can, it'll be his judgment. I doubt that he would do it just because.
And of course, if it were actual research, it would go through my area in the institutional review board. And so we would vet the research. We will defer to the board's wisdom. I agree personally with Ms. Nahara. It doesn't necessarily hurt anything to leave that in there. It does give the president the option if something unforeseeable comes up, but it is the board's prerogative how to address that.
I think we can leave it. Hopefully we never have to use it. Any other comments, concerns? Next.
Item 2.23.1, the following policy is presented for first reading, review, and comment. GK Local.
Any questions, comments, concerns? I don't have any. Does anybody have any comments? If not, let's move to the next one.
Item 2.24.1, the following policy is presented for third reading, adoption, and/or approval. DIAA Local.
Miss Pam, this is Rosemary Marin. Did we go through GK?
Hold on. I thought we had, but did I miss that one?
No, we didn't. Yeah, we missed that one. Do we have any comments, concerns? Go ahead and read that one, Ms. Pam.
Hold on, let me go back pages.
188.
Policy item number 2.23.1, the following policy is presented for first reading, review, and comment. GK Local.
Does anybody have any concerns, questions with that? Good catch, Ms. Marin. Okay, there's no comments on next.
Item 2.24.1, the following policy is presented for third reading, adoption, and/or approval. DIAA Local.
I don't have any concerns, just a comment again. The retaliation being prohibited is coming up again on that policy. And that's all I have. Anybody else have comments, concerns? Dr. Serrata, I have a question on this one on page 197. I just want to make sure that if we don't have it yet, pretty soon we have the committee structure that it calls for on the Title IX, because it does ask for the committee to be in place and also the training for the committee as decision makers for the Title IX.
Dr.
Yes.
Graham, I can address that if you want me to, Dr. Serrata, unless you're prepared.
No, please go ahead, Ms. Money.
Yes, I asked that question, and there is a plan to put a committee in place. In fact, the plan is done. It's just a matter of communicating it. But the plan is for the cabinet members. You have Malena Field is the Title IX coordinator on the employee side, and the next policy relates to students. Dr. Ken Gonzalez is the Title IX coordinator for the students. Those two members will be on the committee in addition to 3 additional cabinet members that will be added to the committee on a rotating basis.
And who's going to provide that training, ma'am?
I am going to be providing the training. We actually talked about it yesterday, and I'm putting together a proposal for the price to the college that I will submit to Dr. Peña by the end of this week.
I thought it was gonna be in kind.
Okay. No pressure.
No pressure. But are you gonna do it only for a handful of people, or will you be doing it for a large group?
Yeah, my understanding is that they're going to it's going to be a larger group. It's going to be it's not just the people that are going to be on the committee, but it'll be across the college, and they'll be doing several sessions. And it's a total of 4 hours per person. So and we're going to do it in 2-hour sessions.
It's going to be virtual?
Yes, it's going to be virtual because it's going to be soon.
Okay. And you already have the individuals that are going to be participating or identified?
Dr. Peña, I think is on the phone, and maybe he can jump in. I don't know the specifics of that.
Ms. Marin, Dr. Serata, esteemed board members. Yes, we have the cabinet members, the vice presidents and associate VPs or AVPs will serve as the members of our Title IX committee, along with our two standing members, our two standing Title IX coordinators, Dr. Gonzalez and Ms. Field. The plan is to have a committee of 5, which is comprised of the 2 standing members and a combination of the 3 vice presidents or AVPs. And then if there is a conflict of interest or bias by one of the AVPs or VPs, we can rotate another cabinet member or AVP into that slot.
Okay, looks like you have a plan in mind already. Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. You're welcome.
On page 200 at the very bottom, this one is the dissemination of the information so that everybody, including parents of the early college high school kids, are familiar with this. So again, something that we need to look at to see how that's going to be distributed. Any other comments or concerns, questions on this policy? Okay, let's go to the next one, Ms. Pam.
Dr. Graham, if I may, I believe this item is up for approval because it was for third reading, adoption, or approval.
Okay, so we need a motion on this. This is one we're adopting today. We need a
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Barney. Thank you, Ms. Sanchez. All in favor? Ms. Pam, will you call the question?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Nájera.
Aye.
Ms. Pina.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Item 2.25.1, the following policy is presented for third reading, adoption, and/or approval. FFDA local.
Any questions or concerns? I don't have any. Does anybody have any questions? If not, we need a vote. We need a motion on this one.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Thank you. Call the question, please, Ms. Graham.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Nájera.
Aye.
Ms. Pina.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye. And I guess, Ms. Marin, on this one, the board's gonna need a little bit of training eventually on this one because this is fairly complicated.
Yes, ma'am. We intend to do that as well.
Okay. Wow, that was a lot on it. It's so exciting. We're getting our policies in place and clarity on it. Thank you, Dr. Serrata, for moving this forward. And Dr. Penley, thank you for doing all the work on this. I'm sure it's become your full-time job on top of your full-time job. Okay, we're done with the policies for right now.
Item 3.1, discussion and action to approve full-time staff and faculty recruited in positions funded by the institutional budget.
I move to approve.
Second.
And just for the record, I did bring some concerns to Dr. Serrata. He has addressed it. And with that, let's go ahead and call the question.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Nájera.
Aye.
Ms. Pena.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Item 3.3, information items, retirements, no action is required. Item 4.1, discussion and action on the approval of the renewal of a campus-wide annual support agreement with Oracle America Incorporated in the amount of $650,498.
I have a question on this, Dr. Serrata or Dr. Iron. For how long is this going to be? Is this for a year, for 2 years? Or?
Dr. Graham, it's an annual renewal. So it's every year.
So it's for this year?
Correct. Starting March.
March. Okay. Thank you. Any concerns, questions? If not, we need a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Chen, call the question, please.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Nájera.
Aye.
Ms. Pena.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Item 4.2, discussion and action on the acceptance of an amendment to an existing grant under CARES Act from the U.S. Department of Education pursuant to the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act, CRRSAA, in the amount of $27,983,664.
On this particular item, Dr. Serrata, can you give us a brief explanation as to why we have two of them that are both CARES Act approvals?
Sure, Dr. Graham. So this 27.9 or just under $28 million is the institutional portion of the last, and it was actually not the CARES Act, but the CRRSAA grant that was signed by the Trump administration on December 27th. And so we were just alerted by the Department of Education what our allocation was. As you notice, this is approximately twice the amount that we received from the CARES Act. If you remember, we received a little over $17 million from the CARES Act, of which just under 8.3 million was student specific, another 8.3 institution, and then there was the MSA, which amounted to a little over 1.1 million. This is combined. This is the institutional portion. You'll see in later in the agenda, we have the student portion, which is equivalent to the 8.295 that we initially received. So this is the institutional portion. It does have a date of May of 2021. So for approximately 3 months, a little over 3 months, but we have an extension to a potential extension to May of 2022 that we can utilize and be able to spend these resources. We are being alerted by organizations such as the American Association of Community Colleges that there's much more flexibility with use of these grants, including loss of revenue. We're waiting for the Department of Education briefing specific for us to understand that and ensure that that is the case for us to move forward. But we have already received the institutional portion of this.
Well, thank you, sir.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
we need a motion.
Dr. Graham?
Yes.
Dr. Graham, I have another question.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, this is great. This is good. I'm glad that the college is receiving more money. Do you know if there's plans in that current package, I guess, that they're looking at, or any reports at the federal level, if there's more? Are we going to be part of any type of, I don't know, third package that may be passed by by this administration, the Biden administration?
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Sanchez. We do anticipate a subsequent CARES Act or type of CARES Act package being passed by the Biden administration. We have heard 1.9 trillion. It is our understanding that higher ed will be also a part of that. What extent, we do not know yet.
Okay. And okay, that's great. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sanchez.
Any other questions or comments? So we need a motion and a second.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Ms. Tim, call the question, please.
Ms. Sanchez,
Aye.
Mrs. Robles,
Aye.
Ms. Nájera,
Aye.
Ms. Pina, Ms. Pina,
Aye.
Dr. Graham,
Aye. 5.1, please.
Item 5.1, discussion and action on the approval to award a contract to Pride General Contractors LLC for the modification and repaving of the intersection between the ASCA and B buildings in an amount not to exceed $166,175.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions, concerns, discussion? Hearing none, let's call the question, please.
Ms. Sanchez,
Aye.
Mrs. Robles,
Aye.
Ms. Nájera,
Aye.
Ms. Pina,
Aye.
Dr. Graham,
Aye.
Item 6.1, discussion and action on the approval of a memorandum of agreement with the Socorro Independent School District, SISD, to teach Emergency Medical Services Program, EMSP courses to SISD high school students in the amount of $58,187.
Move to approve?
Second.
Do we have any questions, concerns? Ms. Tim, call the question, please.
Sanchez,
Aye.
Mrs. Robles,
Aye.
Ms. Nájera,
Aye.
Ms. Pina,
Aye.
Dr. Graham,
Abstain?
Item 6.2, discussion and action on the approval of an amendment to the memorandum of agreement with the Ysleta Independent School District, YISD, to teach an emergency medical services program, EMSP, courses to YISD high school students in the amount of $58,187.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any concerns? If not, call the question, please.
Ms. Sanchez,
Aye.
Mrs. Robles,
Aye.
Ms. Naheda,
Aye.
Ms. Pina,
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Item 6.3, discussion and action on the approval of a subgrant from UTEP under the National Science Foundation's Computer and Information Science and Engineering Program in the amount of $54,063.
Move to approve 6.3, 6.4, and 6.5.
Second.
Okay, let me read the other items.
Concerns, discussion? Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to read the other items, Dr. Graham.
Yes, ma'am.
Item 6.4, discussion and action on the approval of a subgrant from the University of Texas at El Paso under the National Science Foundation's Geosciences Program in the amount of $49,735. And item 6.5, discussion and action to approve an amendment to the memorandum of agreement with the El Paso Independent School District, EPISD, to teach an emergency services program, EMSP course to EPISD high school students in the amount of $13,942.
Any questions, concerns, discussion? Hearing none, would you please call the question?
Ms. Sanchez,
Aye.
Mrs. Robles,
Aye.
Ms. Naheda,
Aye.
Ms. Pina,
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Item 6.6, discussion and action on the approval of an extension to the existing contracts for on-site ATM services, on-site bookstore services, and customized training services related to the college's demonstration kitchen space.
Move to
Motion to
approve.
Second.
Go ahead. Questions, concerns? Discussion? Call the question, please.
Ms. Sanchez,
Aye.
Mrs. Robles,
Aye.
Ms. Naheda,
Aye.
Ms. Pina,
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Item 7.1, discussion and action on the acceptance of a grant from the Texas Higher Education Board, THECB, Texas Reskilling Support Fund Grant Program in the amount of $1,500,000.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second. Any discussion, concerns? Call the question, please.
Ms. Sanchez,
Aye.
Mrs. Robles,
Aye.
Ms. Naheda,
Aye.
Ms. Pina,
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Item 7.2, discussion and action on the acceptance of a grant from the Texas Workforce Commission in the amount of $500,000 for the period of 2 years.
Move to approve 7.2 and 7.3 and 7.4.
Second.
Item 7.3, discussion and action on the acceptance of a subgrant from the University of Texas at El Paso in the amount of $12,500. And item 7.4, discussion and action on the acceptance of an amendment to an existing grant under CARES Act from the U.S. Department of Education pursuant to the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act, CRRSAA, in the amount of $8,295,073.
Any questions or concerns? I have a question on 7.2. I guess it would be to Dr. Gonzalez. Is he joining us? Then I'll go to you, Dr. Zapata. So on this grant with the Texas Workforce Commission, it's directly assisting with the education of individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Can we speak to them about helping these students get employed? Because what I hear is that they are completing their training at EPCC and they're doing very well in their classes and completion, but we're struggling to get them employed. And I think that we can elicit the help of the workforce to help get these individuals in the jobs.
Absolutely, Dr. Graham.
It's going to take somebody meeting with them and working with them to make sure that that's happening.
No, absolutely, Dr. Graham. And I happen to sit on the workforce board, so I can work with Layla and her team on ensuring that we provide services to these students to ensure that once they complete their programs, that we do everything possible to find them employment.
And this is one area where there should be apprenticeship programs, because when you send these people with disabilities out in the community and tell them go get a job, here they're hiring at Walmart, but nobody is, demonstrating to them that they can handle the jobs. They just don't get hired. That's why I'm such an advocate for apprenticeship programs or internships, because then they begin to see that they do have skills and abilities that they can hold a job, and usually they're better off in attendance and everything else because they have such a hard time landing the jobs. But I think we need to come up with a program that really helps them with that. And I'm not sure that we're doing as good a job in the hire program that we have, or in the collaboration with the workforce, and they should be doing a lot more than what they're doing, in my opinion.
No, certainly understand, and we will work closely with them to ensure that we develop a system in place.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am, of course.
Anybody have any comments, concerns on any of the others? Or that one? If not, Ms. Penn, can you call the question? Will you, Ms. Penn?
Pam, you're still muted.
Sorry about that. Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Nájera.
Aye.
Ms. Pena.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Item 8.0, community service, none. Would the board like to recess into executive session at this time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The Board of Trustees may conduct an executive or closed session pursuant to Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code for one or more of the following reasons. 1, consultation with its attorney to seek or receive legal advice, or consultation regarding pending or contemplated litigations, or for any purpose authorized by law. 2, discussion about the value or transfer of real property. 3, discussion about a prospective gift or donation. 4, consideration of specific personnel matters. 5, discussion about security personnel or devices. Or 6, discussion of certain economic development matters. The board may also announce that it will go into executive session on any item listed on this agenda if the subject matter is permitted for a closed session by provisions of Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. Any vote regarding these items shall be taken in open session. Discussion regarding the real estate transaction between EPCC and the County of El Paso regarding property adjacent to the Mission Del Paso campus pursuant to Section 551.072 of the Texas Property Code. Discussion regarding COVID-19 vaccination pursuant to Section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code. Discussion regarding negotiation of legal fees with prior legal counsel pursuant to Section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code. And the time is now 8:05.
Hello, this is Dr. Graham again. We are finished with executive session. It's 9:30. And we are going to be meeting again February 24th at 4 p.m. Do we have any other business? If not, then we need a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. Motion to adjourn. We have a second.
We don't have a
thank you all
second.
for your participation. No, we don't. That's true. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Good night. We will see you on the 24th. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.